Most people still think a stable job is the safest financial plan you can have. Good salary, good benefits, a company people respect, the kind of job that makes your family look at you and say, you're set. But here's the catch. A paycheck is not the same thing as stability. A paycheck just means one company is still willing to pay you today. And in 2026, that's a much shakier foundation than most people want to admit. The old version of job security made more sense. People stayed longer, benefits were better, pensions were more common. There was a clearer connection between loyalty and long-term stability. Today, most people are building their entire financial life on something a lot thinner than that. One employer, one direct deposit, one health plan, one manager, one source of income carrying the mortgage, the groceries, the insurance, the retirement contributions, and basically the entire household routine. That's not real stability. That's concentration. And the wild part is we already understand concentration risk in every other area of money. If someone put their whole portfolio into one stock, most people would say, that's a terrible idea. But millions of smart, responsible adults do the income version of that every single day. They depend on one company for almost everything, and because the money keeps showing up every 2 weeks, it feels safe. It feels normal. It even feels responsible. Right up until it isn't. That's why the real danger of a stable job isn't just getting laid off. It's the dependency that builds around it. The more your life expands to fit one paycheck, the less flexible your life becomes. From the outside, a bigger income looks like more freedom. But a lot of times it just means bigger fixed costs, bigger mortgage, bigger car payment, more expensive routines, more stuff that has to be covered every single month. So what looks like success on paper can quietly turn into a trap. This is where a lot of people get boxed in. They're not staying in a job because they love it. They're staying because they can't afford to lose it. And those are two very different things. When your job becomes the thing holding up your entire life, it also starts calling more of the shots than you realize. You stay in roles you've outgrown. You put off making a move. You avoid risk even when the upside is worth it. You tell yourself you just need more certainty when what you really need is less dependency. That's also why some people who look less impressive on paper are actually in a stronger position than people making much more money. Someone with one high-paying job can lose 100% of their income in one bad morning. Someone with 3 smaller income sources might lose one and still be fine. That doesn't mean jobs are bad. It doesn't mean everyone should quit and try to become a creator or start a business next week. It just means the real issue isn't job versus no job. The real issue is single point of failure risk. A full-time job can still be a great tool. It can help you save. It can fund your investments. It can teach you useful skills. It can open doors. But it becomes a weak plan when it's your only plan. That's the shift more people need to make. Stop thinking only about job security and start thinking about income security. Those are not the same thing. Job security says, I hope this company keeps paying me. Income security says, if one source changes, my life still works. And once you see it that way, the goal changes. The goal is not to panic. The goal is not to blow up your career. The goal is not to quit tomorrow and pretend you've escaped the system. The goal is to reduce dependency over time, slowly, calmly, on purpose. That's what real stability looks like. The first place to start is not some flashy side hustle. It's your spending. One of the most dangerous things about a steady paycheck is that it makes overspending feel manageable. You start telling yourself, it's fine, another check is coming. But that mindset keeps you on a treadmill. It keeps you in a position where you always need the next deposit. And when you always need the next deposit, you have less freedom than you think. So before you start talking about financial independence, you need breathing room. Not perfection, not deprivation, just breathing room. That means taking an honest look at your fixed expenses and asking a simple question. How much of my life is built around protecting this one paycheck? Not every expense is a problem. The goal is not to become the kind of person who never enjoys anything. The goal is to cut the costs that add pressure without adding much value. Because every unnecessary fixed expense pushes freedom a little farther away. Every dollar you no longer need is a dollar that lowers the pressure on your life. The second step is building an emergency fund. It's not sexy. It won't make you feel like a genius. But it matters, because cash buys you time, and time buys you better decisions. When you have 3 to 6 months of expenses set aside, you stop making every financial move from a place of panic. You become less desperate. You can say no when you need to. You can think clearly. You can survive a disruption without your whole system falling apart. A lot of financial resilience comes down to one simple thing: runway. The third step is building at least one income stream that doesn't depend on your employer. That could be freelance work, consulting a small business, rental income, dividends from long-term investments, or something else that fits your life and skill set. It does not need to replace your salary overnight. It doesn't need to be huge. Even a modest second stream changes the math, because now if your main paycheck disappears, you don't instantly go to zero. And that makes a bigger difference than most people realize, both financially and mentally. This is where a lot of people miss the point. They think multiple income streams are only for entrepreneurs, influencers, or people trying to get rich quick. That's the wrong way to look at it. Multiple income streams are not about looking impressive. They're about lowering risk. They're about creating options. They're about making sure your entire financial life is not sitting on one set of company decisions you don't control. The fourth step is learning how to use your job better while you still have it. Most people either resent their job or cling to it. Very few use it strategically. But if you're serious about building long-term freedom, your job should be a tool. Use the training, build skills, increase your earning power. Get better at things that still matter, even if you leave. The company may be temporary. The skills don't have to be. The more useful you become in the market, the less trapped you are in one specific role, one specific team, or one specific employer. And that matters because dependency isn't just financial. It's psychological too. A lot of people stay overexposed to one employer because they've wrapped too much of their identity around that role. One title, one company, one version of success. And once that happens, even thinking about change starts to feel threatening. So they keep their head down, do good work, and hope that being valuable will protect them. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But hope is not a system. That's why one of the healthiest mindset shifts you can make is this: your employer is not your financial plan. Your employer is one tool inside your financial plan. That's it. Useful, absolutely. Important, sure, but not the whole thing. The moment you stop treating your job like the foundation of your entire life, you start making better decisions. You save differently, you spend differently, you negotiate differently, you invest differently. You start building a life that can absorb change. And honestly, that's what real financial freedom looks like for most people. Not yachts, not fake guru energy, not some fantasy about retiring in your early 30s after one lucky run. Real financial freedom is having enough margin in your system that one disruption doesn't take you out. It's being able to leave a bad job without your whole life going up in flames. It's being able to make decisions based on your priorities instead of pure survival. It's being able to protect your time, your health, and your peace of mind. For some people, that will eventually lead to full financial independence. For others, it just means becoming a lot less fragile than they used to be. Either way, it's worth building. Because the truth is, you do not need to fully replace your job tomorrow to improve your life. You just need to make sure your life isn't completely dependent on it. And this is where a lot of financial content goes off the rails. It tells people to quit, reinvent themselves overnight, and build a whole new life in one burst of motivation. That usually falls apart fast. The better path is slower, quieter, and way more durable. Keep the job, tighten the system, build the cash cushion, cut the waste, learn the skill, add the second stream, invest consistently, reduce dependency one layer at a time. That may not sound exciting, but it works. More importantly, it lasts. Because the real goal is not to replace your job in one big dramatic move. The goal is to demote it over time, to make it one part of your financial life instead of the center of it, to turn your paycheck from a lifeline into a tool, to build enough assets, enough flexibility, and enough optional income that your future is no longer hanging on one email subject line. That is the decade mindset. Not chasing freedom in one dramatic moment, but building resilience so steadily that freedom becomes the natural result. Not trying to win the week. Not trying to impress people with a lifestyle that only works as long as the direct deposit clears. Just building a system that gets stronger every year. So if you have a good job, great. Use it well. Appreciate it. Learn from it. Let it help fund the next stage. But don't confuse a currently functioning paycheck with permanent safety. Those are not the same thing. A stable salary can help you, but real stability comes from lower dependency, stronger cash reserves, useful skills, and income sources that can survive one company changing its mind. If this feels a little uncomfortable, that's probably not a bad thing. That's usually what clarity feels like at first. Not panic, not doom, just clarity. And clarity is useful because once you see the risk clearly, you can finally start building around it. The question is not whether jobs are good or bad. The better question is this: if your direct deposit stopped next Friday, what in your financial life would still keep working? If the answer is not much, that's not a reason to feel bad. It's just a reason to start now. Build the margin, build the cushion, build the extra stream, build the assets, build the flexibility. Keep going long enough, and eventually your financial life stops depending on one employer deciding you still belong there. If you want more practical long-term strategies for building wealth without hype, shortcuts, or burnout, subscribe to The Decade Principle. And in the comments, tell me which layer of financial resilience you're working on right now: cutting expenses, building cash reserves, improving your skills, or creating income outside your job.